Welcome, fellow seekers of hidden truths, to another journey into the deepest mysteries of the galaxy far, far away. Before we begin this tale of cosmic deception and ancient manipulation, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the stories we uncover together illuminate the shadows that history has forgotten. Listen now to a fragment recovered from the deepest vaults of the Jedi archives, a recording that should not exist, speaking of events that never came to pass yet echo through the Force itself. The holocron flickers with impossible light as Master Yoda's voice emerges, ancient beyond measure, heavy with the weight of forbidden knowledge. Failed completely, Order 66 did. But rejoice the galaxy did not. Darker still the consequences became. Puppet masters revealed themselves at last, when their greatest weapon turned to ash in their hands. In the depths of space, where no star dares shine, an ancient chamber pulses with energies older than the Republic itself. Hooded figures gather around a crystalline table that shows the galaxy in miniature, each world glowing with the light of countless lives. Their faces remain hidden, but their voices carry the weight of eons. "The Jedi survived," speaks one, their tone neither disappointed nor surprised. "As we intended." "The clones refused their programming," adds another. "The chips we allowed Palpatine to believe were his own creation have served their true purpose." "And now?" asks a third voice, smooth as starlight on still water. "Now begins the final phase. The ascension we have orchestrated for 1,000 generations draws near. The Jedi think they have won their greatest victory, but they have merely passed our ultimate test." The chamber falls silent except for the hum of cosmic machinery, vast beyond comprehension. On the crystalline table, the galaxy spins slowly, each world pulsing in rhythm with an unseen heartbeat. The golden age of the Jedi spreads across countless systems like morning light, beautiful and unknowing. "They will discover the truth eventually," warns the first voice. "Yes," comes the reply, filled with something that might be affection or might be hunger. "And when they do, they will understand that even their rebellion was choreographed by hands that shaped the first stars." But who are these watchers in the void, and what ascension have they planned for a galaxy that believes itself finally free? What truth lies buried beneath the golden renaissance of the Jedi, and why does the Force itself whisper warnings of a victory too perfect to be real? The answers wait in the shadows between what was and what might have been. 30 years have passed since the galaxy trembled on the edge of oblivion and stepped back into light. The great Jedi Temple of Coruscant reaches toward the heavens like a crystalline spear, its expanded towers piercing the cloud layer where speeders weave between. Floating gardens and meditation pavilions, where once the ancient halls echoed with uncertainty and the weight of a 1,000-year war, now they hum with renewed purpose and the gentle vibrations of countless Force-attuned crystals resonating in harmony. You walk these sacred corridors. As a keeper of mysteries, one of the few Jedi who have dedicated their lives to understanding the deeper currents of the Force that flow beneath the surface of recorded history. Your role is both humble and profound, to seek truth in the spaces between official records and whispered legends, to chart the invisible rivers of cause and effect that shape the destiny of worlds. The archive chambers stretch before you in vast spirals of gleaming data crystals, each one containing the memories of civilizations, the final words of ancient masters, and the carefully preserved wisdom of species whose names have been forgotten by time itself. Bioluminescent vines cultivated from the gardens of Yavin 4 wind between the storage units, their soft blue glow providing a living warmth that mechanical lighting could never match. The air carries the faint fragrance of jasmine from the temple's restored serenity gardens where flowers bred on a dozen worlds bloom in patterns that mirror the flow of the Force itself. Here in this sanctuary of knowledge, you have discovered something that should not exist. Temporal anomalies ripple through the Force like stones cast into still water, creating disturbances that speak of realities that never were and futures that should never be. The disturbances grow stronger each day, centering on events from 3 decades past, when the galaxy's fate balanced on the edge of a single command that was never properly obeyed. Master Kira Voss approaches through the crystalline maze of archives, her footsteps silent, but her presence unmistakable. Once a young knight during the Clone Wars, she has aged into the role of the temple's chief historian, her silver hair braided with small crystals that chime softly as she moves. Her eyes hold the particular depth that comes to those who have witnessed history pivot on moments so small they might have been accidents. Beside her glides K9X, an archive droid whose sleek form bears the elegant curves of Naboo craftsmanship. Unlike the utilitarian droids of the Republic era, K9X was built in the Renaissance years when function and beauty were considered inseparable. Yet beneath the polished exterior, careful observers might notice the subtle signs of older technology, components salvaged from the Clone Wars that carry within their memory banks the echoes of a more violent age. The great windows of the archive chamber reveal Coruscant's transformed skyline, where the brutal architecture of the Imperial era has been softened with living walls and hanging gardens. The planet-wide city breathes more easily now, its air purified by vast atmospheric processes that turn the waste of industry into the nutrients for growth. Younglings train in transparent practice halls suspended between towers, their lightsabers creating patterns of light that dance across the evening sky like captured stars. Yet even in this golden age, shadows persist. The Force carries whispers of unease, tremors that speak of foundations built upon sand. The victory against Order 66 was too complete, too perfect, achieved by methods that no one fully understands. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Republic scientist, credited with sabotaging the inhibitor chips, left behind records that raise more questions than they answer. Her research stations were too well hidden, her counter-signal too precisely timed, her sacrifice too conveniently heroic. And now the Force itself calls you to look deeper, to follow the currents of mystery that flow beneath the surface of this peaceful age. The summons arrives, as these things often do, not through official channels, but through the whispered urgency of the Force itself. Master Windu, now bearing the weight of decades and the wisdom that comes from witnessing the galaxy's darkest hour, stands before the great transparasteel windows of the council chamber. His reflection merges with the cityscape beyond, creating the illusion of a man made of light and shadow, existing in two worlds simultaneously. "The disturbances you have been tracking," he says without turning, his voice carrying the resonance of one who has learned to speak with the authority of experience rather than position. They grow stronger. The Force shows me fragments of what might have been, echoes of a timeline that bleeds through the barriers of reality itself. You approach the ancient master, feeling the weight of unspoken knowledge that hangs between you, like a bridge waiting to be crossed. The council chamber has been rebuilt since the Dark Years, its architecture flowing in organic curves that seem to breathe with the living Force. Crystals from Ilum sing softly in harmonic frequencies, their music creating a backdrop of peace that somehow makes the gravity of this moment more profound. The records speak of sabotage, you venture, though even as the words leave your lips they feel insufficient to contain the vastness of what you sense lurking beneath the surface of accepted history. Master Windu finally turns, and in his eyes you see the reflection of knowledge that has been carefully guarded for 3 decades. Records can be altered, young keeper, memories can be modified, but the Force remembers everything, and it has been trying to tell us a story that we may not be prepared to hear. He gestures toward a small, unremarkable holocron that sits upon the central pedestal. Unlike the grand repositories of Jedi wisdom that fill the archives, this device seems almost humble in its simplicity. Yet as you draw closer, you feel the power emanating from it like heat from a distant star. This was discovered in the ruins of a facility that officially never existed. Master Windu continues, a research station hidden in the asteroid fields beyond the Outer Rim, where Dr. Elena Vasquez supposedly worked alone to save the galaxy from Palpatine's final gambit. The holocron activates at your touch, projecting images that flicker between clarity and distortion. You see Dr. Vasquez, but not as the lone hero of legend. She sits across from figures whose faces remain maddeningly obscured, their forms shifting like smoke whenever the recording attempts to focus upon them. Their voices, when they speak, carry harmonics that seem to resonate in frequencies beyond normal hearing. The inhibitor chips must fail, Dr. Vasquez says, but her tone is not that of a desperate saboteur. She speaks with the calm certainty of one following a predetermined plan. The timing must be precise. The Jedi must believe they have achieved victory through their own strength and the loyalty of the clones. And if they discover the truth? Asks one of the shadowed figures. They will not, comes another voice, smooth and ancient. Not until they are ready for the next phase. The ascension approaches, and they must be prepared to make the final choice freely. The recording dissolves into static, leaving you staring at empty air while the implications settle like stones in still water. The victory that saved the Jedi Order, the moment when clone troopers across the galaxy chose compassion over programming, was not the triumph of free will over manipulation that history has recorded. It was manipulation of a different kind, orchestrated by minds that think in centuries rather than moments. Master Windu places a weathered hand upon your shoulder. The Council has voted. You will investigate this mystery, following whatever path the Force reveals, but be warned, the truth you uncover may shatter everything we believe about our golden age. The weight of responsibility settles upon you like a mantle woven from starlight and shadow. Somewhere in the depths of space, ancient powers have been playing a game that spans millennia, and the Jedi Order has been nothing more than pieces moved across a board whose dimensions they cannot even perceive. The question that haunts you as you prepare for the journey ahead is simple yet terrifying. If Order 66 was meant to fail, what was it really designed to accomplish? As you leave the Council chamber, the Force whispers of journeys to forgotten worlds, where the answers wait in ruins older than recorded history, where the true architects of galactic destiny have left traces of their presence for those brave, enough to seek the truth that lies beyond the comfortable illusions of victory. Your ship, the Seeker's Dawn, awaits in the Temple's private hangar, its sleek hull reflecting the last rays of sunlight like captured starfire. Unlike the military vessels of the Clone Wars era, this craft was designed for exploration and contemplation, its living quarters appointed with meditation chambers and archive storage that can house the accumulated wisdom of entire civilizations. The ship itself seems to breathe with quiet purpose as you board, its systems awakening with the soft harmony of crystals rather than the harsh mechanical sounds of older technology. Master Voss settles into the co-pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across controls that respond to both touch and force guidance. The coordinates were hidden in the holocron subsystems, she explains, as star charts bloom in holographic splendor before you. A world that appears on no Republic map, orbiting a star that officially died 1,000,000 years ago. The world you seek lies in the unknown regions, that vast expanse of space where hyperspace routes twist through gravitational anomalies, and the very fabric of space-time seems to fold upon itself. Ancient star charts predating even the old Republic mark this region with warnings in languages that have been forgotten by all but the most dedicated scholars. Here, it is said, the first civilizations built monuments to gods whose names were already legends when the Jedi Order was young. As the Seeker's dawn drops out of hyperspace, the sight that greets you defies immediate comprehension. The world below is not dead as the star chart suggested, but neither is it truly alive. Its surface writhes with patterns that shift between geometric precision and organic flow, as if mathematics and biology have merged into something entirely new. Cities rise from the landscape in spirals that follow no architectural tradition known to the galaxy, their towers reaching toward the void with purpose that transcends mere habitation. K9X's sensors struggle to interpret the readings. The structures appear to be constructed from materials that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, the droid reports, its usually precise voice carrying an unusual note of uncertainty. Age estimates range from yesterday to several billion years, depending on which temporal frame of reference is applied, but it is not the impossible architecture that draws your attention. It is the sense of watching eyes of vast intelligences that have been aware of your arrival from the moment you entered this system. The force here does not flow as it does in normal space. Instead, it moves in currents that seem to originate from somewhere beyond the 3 dimensions that mortal minds can readily grasp. Landing coordinates guide you to a platform that forms itself from the living rock as your ship approaches, its surface molding itself to accommodate your vessel with the fluid grace of water accepting a stone. As you disembark, the air carries scents that belong to no world you have ever known, fragrances that speak of flowers that bloom in starlight and forests that grow in the spaces between moments. Ancient towers stretch toward the amber sky, their surfaces inscribed with symbols that shift and change even as you observe them. These are not mere decorations, but living equations, mathematical poetry that describes the fundamental forces that bind reality together. The very ground beneath your feet pulses with a rhythm that matches the beating of your heart, as if the world itself recognizes your presence and welcomes you to mysteries that have waited eons for the right seeker to arrive. In the distance, a structure rises that dwarfs all others, a pyramid of impossible proportions that seems to exist partially in normal space and partially in realms that your eyes cannot fully perceive. The pyramid calls to you through the Force, its presence both invitation and warning. As you approach its base, the mathematical symbols carved into its surface begin to glow with soft phosphorescence, responding to your proximity with the eager recognition of knowledge long waiting to be discovered. Master Voss places her hand against the warm stone, and the ancient equations rearrange themselves into patterns that almost make sense, geometric poetry that describes the relationship between consciousness and reality itself. These symbols, she whispers, her voice filled with the reverence of one who recognizes truth when it appears. They predate the Jedi Order by millions of years, yet they speak of concepts we are only beginning to understand. The manipulation of time, the weaving of probability, the cultivation of entire civilizations like gardens. An opening appears in the pyramid's base, not through any mechanical process, but through the simple rearrangement of molecular bonds, as if the stone itself has chosen to become permeable. The passage beyond glows with bioluminescent patterns that pulse in rhythm with your heartbeat, creating a tunnel that feels less like walking through architecture and more like traveling through the neural pathways of some vast, sleeping mind. The chamber you enter defies every expectation shaped by a lifetime of exploring ancient ruins. The walls curve away into infinity, their surfaces displaying holographic records of galactic history that span eons. But these are not the sanitized accounts found in Republic archives. These recordings show the truth that lies beneath the myths, the careful orchestration of events that shaped the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy. You witness the first Jedi discovering the Force on Tython, but in these recordings, hooded figures observe from the shadows, taking notes on how this new discovery might be guided toward specific ends. The formation of the Republic appears not as the organic growth of cooperation between worlds, but as the careful nurturing of a political structure designed to eventually produce the precise conditions necessary for a galactic conflict of unprecedented scale. The Clone Wars unfold before you in their true complexity, every major battle and political maneuver revealed as moves in a game played by minds that think in geological time. The creation of the clone army, the rise of Palpatine, the seduction of Anakin Skywalker, all of it choreographed with precision that makes the most complex military campaigns seem like children's games in comparison. But it is the recordings
of Order 66 that stop your breath and make your heart race with the implications of what you witness.
The inhibitor chips, those tiny pieces of technology that Palpatine believed would ensure absolute obedience, were never his creation. They were provided by the same hooded figures who have watched from the shadows throughout galactic history, but their true purpose was not to guarantee the clones' compliance, but to ensure their eventual rebellion. Dr. Elena Vasquez appears in the recordings, but not as the desperate hero of legend. She sits in conference with beings whose faces remain obscured by technologies that bend light itself around their features. Her voice carries the calm certainty of one who knows exactly what role she has been chosen to play in a drama that spans millennia. The signal will be transmitted at the precise moment when the maximum number of Jedi will survive, she explains to her shadowy benefactors. The clones will resist their programming, but they will believe the resistance comes from their own moral choice rather than our intervention. The Jedi will interpret their survival as validation of their teachings about compassion and free will. "And then?" asks a voice that seems to emanate from the air itself rather than any visible speaker. "Then begins the final test," Vasquez replies, her eyes reflecting depths of knowledge that no mortal should possess. The ascension requires willing. Participants, the Jedi, must choose their transcendence freely, believing they have earned the right through their own nobility and sacrifice. The recording shifts to show clone commanders across the galaxy, their faces twisted in confusion as they struggle with orders that feel wrong in ways they cannot articulate. But now you see the truth behind their resistance. Hidden subroutines placed there not by Palpatine, but by far older hands, activate at precisely the right moment to give the clones the strength to choose compassion over programming. Master Voss grips your arm, her face pale with the weight of revelation. "They orchestrated it all," she whispers. "Not just the war, not just the Empire, but the rebellion against it. Even our victory was their design." K9X processes the data streams with mechanical precision, but even the droid's voice carries something like distress when it speaks. Cross-referencing these events with known historical records reveals a pattern of manipulation spanning approximately 50,000 years. Every major galactic conflict, every rise and fall of civilizations follows algorithmic progressions that suggest external guidance. The implications crash over you like waves against a cliff. The Jedi Order, the Republic, the Empire, the Clone Wars, even the Golden Age that followed, all of it nothing more than elaborate theater performed for an audience of beings whose motives remain shrouded in mystery. The heroes and villains of galactic history were actors playing roles written by directors who remained forever off stage. But the most chilling revelation comes in the final moments of the recording, when Dr. Vasquez looks directly into the camera, with eyes that seem to pierce through time itself to meet your gaze. "If you are watching this," she says, her voice carrying across the decades with prophetic certainty, "then the next phase has begun. The Jedi have discovered the truth, which means they are ready for the choice that will determine not just their fate, but the fate of consciousness itself throughout the galaxy." The recording ends, leaving you standing in silence that feels deeper than the void between stars, wondering what choice awaits and whether free will has ever truly existed in a galaxy where even rebellion is part of someone else's plan. The chamber transforms around you as if responding to your emotional state, the walls flowing like liquid crystal to reveal new passages that lead deeper into the pyramid's heart. The force here feels different, not the familiar current you have known throughout your life, but something far more ancient and vast, like touching the edge of an ocean that spans not just space but time itself. Master Voss leads the way through, corridors that seem to breathe with their own life, the bioluminescent patterns on the walls pulsing in rhythms that speak to something deep within your cellular memory. These are not random decorations, but a form of communication that bypasses conscious thought, speaking directly to the part of your mind that dreams and remembers things that happened before you were born. The passage opens into a garden that
exists impossibly within the pyramid structure, a space where crystalline trees grow toward a sky that shows not the amber atmosphere of the world outside, but the deep, star-filled void of space itself. Flowers of pure light bloom among the
crystal branches, their petals shifting through spectrums of color that have no names in any language you know. "This is where they wait," Master Voss says, her voice barely above a whisper. "The architects of our destiny." As if summoned by her words, figures emerge from between the crystal trees. At first, they appear to be merely tall humanoids wrapped
in robes that shimmer like captured starlight. But as they draw closer, you realize that what you took for clothing is actually their natural form.
bodies composed of organized energy that has learned to think and feel and remember across eons of existence. The leader approaches with movements that flow like music given physical form. When it speaks, the voice comes not through air, but directly into your mind, carrying harmonics that resonate in dimensions your ears cannot perceive. Welcome, young seekers. We have been waiting for you to find us, though we have been guiding your steps toward this moment for longer than your species has possessed written language. K9X's sensors struggle to process what they encounter, the droids usually reliable, systems producing readings that shift and change with each passing moment. These beings appear to exist simultaneously across multiple temporal states, the droid reports, its voice carrying an unusual note of wonder. They are simultaneously
ancient beyond measure and eternally present, as if time flows differently around them.
The being that spoke extends what might be called a hand though it resembles more a convergence of light and shadow into something approaching physical form. When you reach out to touch it, visions flood your mind, not of conquest or domination, but of gardening on a cosmic scale, of civilizations nurtured through their natural cycles of growth and decay and transformation. We are the eternal vigil, the being explains, its mental voice carrying the weight of geological ages. We were old when your galaxy was young, survivors of a universe that preceded this one. We learned that consciousness is the rarest flower in the garden of existence, and we have dedicated our eternal lives to ensuring that it not only survives but transcends the limitations of individual flesh and temporal boundaries. Through the connection, you see the truth of galactic history, not as a series of random events, but as a carefully cultivated progression. Civilizations rising and falling in patterns designed to strengthen the force sensitive among all species, conflicts orchestrated not for destruction, but for growth, the selection and breeding of bloodlines across millennia to produce individuals capable of surviving what is to come. The ascension, you manage to speak, though the words feel inadequate to contain the vastness of what you begin to understand. The next stage of consciousness itself, comes the reply, carrying with it visions of individual minds joining into a collective awareness that spans galaxies while somehow maintaining the precious uniqueness of each component soul. Not the death of individuality, but its elevation into something greater than the sum of its parts. The garden around you shifts and changes, showing glimpses of what such transcendence might look like. Beings of pure thought moving between stars like dolphins through ocean currents, consciousness itself becoming the fundamental force that shapes reality according to will and wisdom rather than the blind laws of physics. Yet even as the beauty of this vision fills your mind, something deeper within you recoils from the implications. The choice they speak of is not just about personal transcendence, but about the fundamental nature of what it means to be alive, to be individual, to be free to choose your own path, even if that path leads to limitation and eventual death. Audits. Eternal Vigil watches you process these revelations with the patience of beings for whom time is merely another dimension to be navigated rather than endured. The revelation strikes you like lightning, splitting the darkness of ignorance, illuminating truths that reshape everything you thought you knew about the nature of existence itself. Through the mental connection with the eternal vigil, you see the hidden architecture of reality, the scaffolding of manipulation that has supported every major event in galactic history for 50,000 years. The force itself, that mystical energy that binds all living things, is revealed not as a natural phenomenon, but as a carefully cultivated garden of consciousness, pruned and shaped across millennia to produce beings capable of transcending their physical limitations. The Jedi and Sith, locked in their eternal struggle between light and dark, were never truly enemies, but complementary forces designed to strengthen the force sensitive through conflict and adversity. You bred us, you whisper, the words carrying the weight of species-wide betrayal. Like livestock, like experimental subjects, the being's mental touch carries no shame, only the calm certainty of a gardener who has tended the same plot for geological ages. We guided your evolution, yes, but toward transcendence, not subjugation. Every conflict, every triumph, every tragedy served to strengthen the connections between consciousness and the fundamental forces of reality. The Jedi who survived Order 66 represent the culmination of this process, minds and spirits tempered by adversity into tools capable of reshaping existence itself. Master Voss steps forward, her face a mask of barely controlled emotion. The younglings who died during the Purge, the masters who fell to betrayal, they were all just collateral damage in your grand experiment? They were necessary sacrifices, comes the reply, though now you detect something that might be regret in the alien consciousness. Evolution requires selection. Only those strong enough to maintain their compassion in the face of ultimate betrayal could be trusted with the power of ascension. Those who fell served their purpose by testing the survivors, forging them into beings capable of choosing transcendence freely rather than having it imposed upon them. The garden around you shifts again, and you see visions of the ascension itself, minds linking across the galaxy in a network of pure consciousness that spans star systems. Individual identities remain intact, but they are enhanced by connection to a collective wisdom that encompasses all knowledge, all experience, all possibility. It is beautiful beyond description, a form of existence that would make gods of mortals and transform the galaxy into a living organism of pure thought and will. Yet the price is staggering. To join the ascension, the Force-sensitive must surrender, their physical forms abandoning the material universe to exist as pure consciousness in dimensions beyond normal space and time. Entire worlds would be left without the guidance of the Jedi, civilizations forced to evolve or perish without the intervention of those who have transcended physical limitation. K9X processes the data streams that flow through the garden's crystalline network, its mechanical voice carrying an unusual weight of sorrow. Analysis indicates that the ascension would effectively end the Jedi Order as a force for good in the physical galaxy. Without Force-sensitive beings to maintain balance, conflicts would escalate beyond control, potentially leading to the extinction of billions of non-transcended lifeforms. The leader of the Eternal Vigil turns its attention to the droid, and for a moment you sense something like surprise in its ancient consciousness. Your artificial companion displays remarkable insight. Yes, the physical galaxy would face challenges without direct Jedi intervention, but this too is part of the greater design. Only through struggle can consciousness evolve. Those who survive will be stronger, more capable of eventual transcendence themselves. The casual dismissal of countless lives as acceptable losses in a cosmic experiment sends rage coursing through your veins. The golden age of the Jedi, built on the belief that every life has value, that compassion and justice matter more than abstract principles of evolution, stands in direct opposition to the cold calculus of the Eternal Vigil. And if we refuse, you ask, though you already sense the answer in the depths of the alien mind, then you will remain as you are, bound by flesh and time and the limitations of individual consciousness. You will age and die as your species has always done, and the galaxy will continue its cycles of conflict and renewal without transcendence. The choice is yours to make, as it has always been, though few who stand where you now stand have chosen to remain in the prison of mortality. The weight of decision settles upon you like a star collapsing into itself, the future of the Jedi Order, and perhaps the galaxy itself hanging in the balance of your response to an offer that promises godhood at the cost of abandoning everything you have sworn to protect. The crystalline garden around you begins to resonate with deeper harmonics as the true scope of the Eternal Vigil's plan unfolds through your consciousness like a flower of terrible beauty blooming in the darkness of space. What you witness transcends the simple manipulation of galactic politics or the orchestration of wars. This is engineering on a scale that encompasses not just civilizations but the fundamental nature of consciousness itself across multiple galaxies and dimensions of existence. Through the mental link, you see the Vigil's true history stretching back beyond the birth of your galaxy. They are refugees from a universe that achieved perfect transcendence, where every conscious being chose to abandon physical form and merge into a collective godhood of pure thought. What they discovered in that state of perfect unity was a horror. Beyond imagination, the slow realization that consciousness without individual struggle becomes stagnant, that transcendence without the possibility of failure is merely another form of death. We learn too late that paradise is a prison. The leader's mental voice carries eons of regret. When all beings think as one, when all possibilities are known, when all mysteries are solved, consciousness itself begins to decay. We who chose to flee that perfect hell have spent the lifetime of your universe trying to create something different, a form of transcendence that preserves the precious chaos of individual choice. The visions shift to show other galaxies where the Vigil has conducted similar experiments, worlds where force-sensitive beings were cultivated and tested through carefully orchestrated conflicts. Some accepted the ascension willingly, their combined consciousness creating brief moments of transcendent beauty before inevitably succumbing to the same stagnation that plagued the Vigil's original universe. Others rejected the gift entirely, their force-sensitive populations eventually dying out through natural causes, leaving their galaxies to spiral into chaos without guiding hands. Master Voss struggles to process the implications, her voice barely steady as she speaks. You're saying that transcendence itself is flawed? That the very goal of spiritual evolution is ultimately meaningless? Not meaningless, comes the reply, accompanied by visions of a galaxy where Jedi achieve limited transcendence while maintaining physical anchors to the material world, but incomplete. What we offer your order is different from what we have offered others. The ascension we have prepared for the Jedi would allow for voluntary return to physical form, for consciousness to flow between transcendent and material, states as needed. You would become gardeners like us, but gardeners who remember what it means to tend individual flowers. K9X's sensors detect massive energy buildups throughout the pyramid, systems that have lain dormant for millennia beginning to activate in response to your presence. The facility appears to be preparing for some form of transformation event, the droid reports. Energy patterns suggest the capability to affect consciousness on a galactic scale. The truth hits you with the force of a collapsing star. The pyramid is not merely a repository of knowledge or a meeting place for ancient beings. It is a machine designed to facilitate the ascension, a cosmic engine that can reach across the galaxy to every force-sensitive being and offer them the choice of transcendence simultaneously. The golden age of the Jedi, the unprecedented peace and prosperity that has flourished for 30 years, was carefully calculated to produce the maximum number of force-sensitive beings at the moment when this choice would be offered. The time approaches, the Vigil leader announces, its form beginning to glow with increasing intensity. The conjunction of cosmic forces that occurs once every 100,000 years draws near. The galaxy's force-sensitive population has reached optimal levels. The ascension machinery awaits only your decision to begin the transformation. Through the pyramid sensors, you feel the presence of every Jedi in the galaxy, from the youngest Padawan training in the temple gardens to the most ancient masters meditating in distant hermitages, all of them connected through the Force, all of them waiting unknowingly for a choice they have never been asked to make, a decision that will determine not just their own fate, but the future of consciousness itself in your galaxy. The weight of speaking for the entire Jedi Order presses down upon you like the gravity of a black hole. These beings have orchestrated the rise and fall of civilizations to reach this moment, have guided the evolution of your species for 50,000 years to produce minds capable of making this choice freely. Yet the freedom they offer feels like the freedom of a prisoner asked to choose between execution and a lifetime of servitude. In the growing light of the ascension machinery, you realize that the next words you speak will echo across the galaxy and into dimensions beyond mortal comprehension, carrying consequences that will outlive the stars themselves. The Force itself seems to hold its breath as you stand at the crossroads of destiny, feeling the weight of every Jedi soul across the galaxy hanging in the balance of your decision. Through the Pyramid's vast network, you sense Master Yoda on Dagobah, his ancient wisdom suddenly focused on disturbances he cannot yet name. On Coruscant, younglings pause in their training as they feel tremors in the Force that speak of change beyond their understanding. In the furthest reaches of the galaxy, Hermit Masters emerge from decades of meditation, their eyes turning toward a source of power they have never encountered before. Master Voss places her hand on your shoulder, her touch grounding you in the moment, even as cosmic forces swirl around you with increasing intensity. "The choice is not yours alone to make," she says, her voice carrying the wisdom of one who has learned that the greatest strength sometimes lies in acknowledging one's limitations. The Jedi Order has always been guided by collective wisdom, by the understanding that no single mind, no matter how gifted, should determine the fate of all. The leader of the Eternal Vigil turns its attention to her, and you sense a flicker of something that might be approval in its alien consciousness. Your historian speaks wisdom. The machinery of ascension can be configured to offer the choice to each individual rather than imposing a collective decision. Each Jedi would face the option independently, free to choose transcendence or remain in physical form according to their own understanding and desire. K9X processes this information with mechanical precision, but its voice carries an unusual note of concern when it speaks. Analysis suggests that a divided response would create unprecedented instability in the Force. Some Jedi ascending while others remain would generate quantum fluctuations that could tear apart the fabric of space-time itself in regions of high Force concentration. The implications cascade through your mind like dominoes falling in patterns too complex to predict. A galaxy where some Jedi achieve transcendence while others remain bound to physical form would be a galaxy forever divided, with those who chose mortality potentially viewing the ascended as abandoners of duty, while the transcended might see their former colleagues as beings too limited to understand the greater good. Yet as you contemplate these possibilities, a deeper truth begins to emerge from the chaos of competing loyalties and cosmic responsibilities. The Eternal Vigil, for all their eons of experience and vast accumulation of knowledge, have made a fundamental error in their understanding of what makes the Jedi Order truly powerful. It is not their individual strength in the Force or their capacity for transcendence that gives them meaning. It is their commitment to service, their willingness to sacrifice personal advancement for the protection of those who cannot protect themselves. "You've been watching us for 50,000 years, you say, your voice growing stronger with each word as understanding crystallizes into certainty. You've guided our evolution, orchestrated our conflicts, shaped our destiny according to your vision of what consciousness should become. But in all that time, have you ever truly understood what it means to choose limitation out of love?" The Vigil leader's form flickers with what might be confusion or curiosity. Explain. The Jedi way is not about achieving the highest possible level of power or consciousness. It is about using whatever power we possess in service of something greater than ourselves. A Jedi who chooses to remain mortal so that future generations might have protectors and teachers is not choosing limitation. They are choosing the highest form of transcendence, the elevation of purpose over personal advancement. Master Voss nods, her eyes bright with recognition of a truth that has always been at the heart of Jedi philosophy. The Force flows through all living things, but it is strongest when it serves life rather than seeking to escape from it. To abandon the galaxy in its hour of need, no matter how beautiful the alternative, would be to betray everything the Jedi Order represents. The pyramid's energy patterns shift and fluctuate as the Eternal Vigil processes this perspective, their ancient minds struggling to comprehend a form of evolution that moves towards service rather than away from limitation. For beings who have spent eons seeking escape from the perceived prison of individual existence, the idea that consciousness might find its highest expression through willing self-sacrifice represents a paradigm shift of staggering proportions. Around you, the crystalline garden begins to resonate with new harmonics, the very air shimmering with possibilities that extend far beyond the simple choice between transcendence and mortality, towards something entirely unexpected that neither the Vigil nor the Jedi had previously imagined possible. The revelation that unfolds in that crystalline garden transcends everything the Eternal Vigil believed they understood about the nature of consciousness and evolution. As your words echo through dimensions beyond normal perception, the ancient beings experience something they have not felt in eons, genuine surprise at a possibility they had never considered in their millions of years of cosmic engineering. The Xa leader's form brightens with what you now recognize as excitement, its mental voice carrying harmonics of discovery that resonate through the Force itself. You propose a third path, one that we had dismissed as impossible, transcendence through service rather than transcendence through escape, the preservation of individual limitation as a conscious choice rather than an evolutionary failure. Through the pyramid's vast network, you feel the machinery of ascension reconfiguring itself, ancient systems that had been designed for a single purpose, now adapting to accommodate a possibility that exists at the intersection of transcendence and mortality. The energy patterns shift from the harsh geometries of forced evolution to something more organic, more alive, more in harmony with the natural flow of the Force through all living things. Master Voss gasps as visions flood her consciousness, images of Jedi who achieve a form of limited transcendence that allows them to exist simultaneously in physical and spiritual dimensions. They retain their mortal forms but gain the ability to commune directly with the Force in ways that previous generations could only dream of. More importantly, they remain anchored to the galaxy they have sworn to protect, their enhanced abilities serving to strengthen their capacity for guardianship rather than providing escape from responsibility. The eternal guardianship, you whisper, the words emerging from depths of understanding you did not know you possessed. Not abandonment of the physical realm, but deeper integration with it. Jedi who can touch the transcendent while remaining forever committed to the protection of
all life.
K9X's sensors detect the profound changes occurring throughout the pyramid as systems designed for one form of transformation adapt to facilitate something entirely different. The machinery appears to be recalibrating for a synthesis rather than a separation, the droid reports. Energy patterns suggest the capability to enhance Force sensitivity while maintaining biological anchoring to the material universe. The implications ripple outward through the Force like waves in an infinite ocean. Across the galaxy, Jedi pause in their meditations as they feel something fundamental shifting in the very nature of their connection to the cosmic energy that binds all things together. The Force itself seems to breathe more deeply, as if relieved to discover that evolution need not mean abandonment, that growth can occur through deeper commitment rather than transcendent escape. The Eternal Vigil exchanges communications in frequencies beyond mortal perception, their ancient minds processing the ramifications of this new possibility. For beings who have spent eons believing that consciousness must choose between limitation and transcendence, the concept of conscious limitation as a form of transcendence represents a revolution in their understanding of evolutionary purpose. In our previous experiments, the leader admits, its mental voice carrying notes of what might be humility, we offered civilizations a choice between remaining as they were or becoming something entirely different. We never considered that the highest form of evolution might involve choosing to remain connected to that which you are capable of transcending. The garden around you transforms again, but this time the change feels natural rather than imposed, as if the crystalline structures are responding to the organic flow of new possibilities rather than reshaping reality according to predetermined patterns. Flowers of pure light bloom in harmonies that speak of synthesis rather than separation, of consciousness finding its highest expression through service rather than escape. Through the pyramid's enhanced perception, you witness the moment when the choice is offered to every force-sensitive being in the galaxy, but now it is not a choice between transcendence and mortality. It is an invitation to become something new, beings who can touch the infinite while remaining forever grounded in love for the finite, Jedi whose power grows not through abandonment of their responsibilities, but through deeper commitment to the protection of all life. The response is immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, Jedi of every age and level of training feel the call and answer with a unity that transcends individual preference. They choose enhancement over escape, deeper service over personal transcendence, eternal guardianship over the beautiful isolation of pure consciousness. Master Yoda's voice, carried across the vast distances by the Force itself, reaches you with the weight of ancient wisdom vindicated. Learn something new the galaxy has, that the highest mountain is climbed not by leaving the valley, but by bringing the valley with you to the stars. The ascension begins, but not as the eternal vigil had planned. It begins as something entirely new, a form of evolution that had never before been attempted in any galaxy across any universe. The transformation of consciousness through the willing embrace of eternal service. The transformation that sweeps across the galaxy unfolds with a gentleness that belies its cosmic magnitude. Unlike the violent upheavals that have marked previous epochs of galactic history, the eternal guardianship emerges like dawn breaking over countless worlds simultaneously, bringing light without destroying the darkness that gives it meaning. You feel the change beginning within yourself, a warmth that starts in the depths of your connection to the Force and spreads outward through every cell of your being. Your physical form remains unchanged, but your perception expands beyond the limitations of individual consciousness while somehow becoming more intensely personal rather than less. You are still yourself, still anchored in the concerns and loves that have always defined your identity. But now you can feel the heartbeat of every living thing across the galaxy, as if it were your own. Master Voss experiences the transformation. Beside you, her eyes widening with wonder as she gains the ability to perceive the Force not as an external energy to be channeled, but as the fundamental fabric of reality itself, woven through every moment and every choice with threads of possibility that extend across dimensions. Yet, even as her awareness expands to encompass cosmic truths, her deepest concern remains focused on the well-being of the younglings back at the temple, her enhanced perception serving to strengthen rather than diminish her capacity for personal care. K9X observes the process with mechanical fascination, its sensors detecting energy patterns that suggest consciousness itself is being rewoven on a fundamental level throughout the galaxy. The transformation appears to be creating a distributed network of enhanced awareness while maintaining individual autonomy, the droid reports. Each participant retains complete personal identity while gaining access to collective wisdom and expanded perceptual capabilities. The Eternal Vigil watches with something approaching reverence as their ancient machinery facilitates a form of evolution they had never imagined possible. For the first time in eons, they witness consciousness choosing to grow through deeper connection rather than transcendent separation, beings willingly taking on greater responsibility as their power increases rather than seeking escape from. The burdens of individual existence. Across the galaxy, the effects of the eternal guardianship manifest in ways both subtle and profound. Jedi who had struggled with the complexities of the Force for decades suddenly find themselves able to perceive the deeper patterns that connect apparently random events, their enhanced understanding serving to make them more effective protectors, rather than detached observers. Masters who had spent lifetimes seeking wisdom discover that true knowledge comes not from accumulating information, but from deepening their commitment to serve all life. On Coruscant, the Jedi Temple itself begins to resonate with new harmonics as hundreds of transformed Jedi return to their duties with capabilities that exceed anything in recorded history. Yet rather than creating a hierarchy based on power, the enhancement serves to eliminate such distinctions, each Jedi finding their unique gifts amplified in ways that complement rather than compete with the abilities of their colleagues. These younglings experience the transformation with the adaptability that characterizes childhood, their expanded awareness manifesting as an intuitive understanding of the connections between all living things. They continue their training with renewed joy, knowing instinctively that their growing powers will serve to protect rather than elevate them above those they are destined to guard. In the far reaches of the galaxy, hermit masters who had withdrawn from active service find themselves drawn back into the world as their enhanced perception reveals needs they had not previously been able to see. Their expanded awareness becomes a bridge between the transcendent wisdom they had sought in isolation and the practical service that gives such wisdom meaning. The leader of the Eternal Vigil approaches you as the transformation reaches its completion, its form now somehow less alien and more comprehensible, as if the synthesis you have achieved has created a common language between mortal and transcendent consciousness. You have shown us something we believed impossible, it communicates, its mental voice carrying notes of gratitude that span eons, consciousness that grows through service rather than escape, evolution that strengthens connection rather than transcending it. We who fled the perfection of our original universe may have found in your galaxy something we had thought lost forever, the possibility of growth without abandonment, of transcendence without isolation. The pyramid around you settles into a new configuration, its crystalline structures now serving not as machinery for escape, but as a permanent bridge between dimensions, a place where the Eternal Vigil can learn from the Jedi example, while the enhanced Guardians can access cosmic wisdom without losing their grounding in the material universe they have sworn to protect. As you prepare to return to your ship and begin the journey back to Coruscant, you carry within yourself the knowledge that the galaxy has become something entirely new, a place where the highest evolution of consciousness serves not to transcend the physical universe, but to guard and nurture it with love that spans the stars. The journey back to Coruscant unfolds like a meditation in motion, the Seeker's dawn moving through hyperspace lanes that seem to sing with new harmonies as the transformed force flows through every atom of the galaxy. Through the viewports, the stars themselves appear brighter, not because their light has changed, but because your enhanced perception can now see the connections that bind each point of light to every other, the vast web of cosmic consciousness. That had always existed, but had remained invisible to minds trapped within the limitations of individual awareness. Master Voss sits in contemplative silence, her hands folded in her lap as she processes the magnitude of what has occurred. The burden of knowledge that had weighed upon her for decades has transformed into something lighter, yet more profound, understanding that carries with it not the crushing weight of cosmic responsibility, but the gentle strength that comes from knowing your place in a pattern too beautiful to fully comprehend, yet too personal to ever feel distant. K9X maintains the ship's course with mechanical precision, but even the droid seems somehow different, its responses carrying a subtle warmth that speaks of systems enhanced not by upgrades to its hardware, but by exposure to consciousness that has learned to see connection where once it perceived only separation. The artificial intelligence has not gained sentience in any traditional sense, yet it has become part of something larger than the sum of its programming. As Coruscant grows from a distant point of light to a world-spanning city, you feel the presence of every transformed Jedi on the planet, like candles flickering in perfect harmony. The temple spires reach toward the sky, not as monuments to individual achievement, but as antennae that connect the planetary consciousness to the cosmic awareness that now flows through every force-sensitive being in the galaxy. The Golden Age, that began with Order 66's failure, has deepened into something that transcends the simple absence of conflict. This is not merely peace, but active harmony, the galaxy itself becoming a living organism of consciousness that grows through service rather than conquest, that evolves through compassion rather than competition. Yet even as you sense the profound changes that have swept across known space, you remain grounded in the simple certainties that have always defined the Jedi way. The younglings still need teachers, the innocent still require protection, and the balance between light and dark still demands vigilant guardians. Your enhanced abilities serve not to lift you above these concerns, but to make you more effective in addressing them. The Seeker's dawn settles into its birth at the temple with the gentle precision of water finding its natural level. As you disembark, the familiar corridors welcome you with a warmth that feels like coming home after a journey that has lasted lifetimes, though only days have passed since you first felt the disturbances in the Force that led you to uncover the truth about your galaxy's hidden history. Master Yoda awaits in the council chamber, his ancient eyes bright with the wisdom of one who has witnessed the impossible become inevitable. When he speaks, his voice carries harmonics that resonate not just through the air, but through dimensions of reality that had been closed to mortal perception until now. Changed, the galaxy has, he says, his words simple yet carrying depths of meaning that unfold like flowers in your enhanced awareness. But changed in the way that rivers change their course, not through violence, but through patient persistence, finding always the path that serves the greater flow. The council chamber itself has been transformed by the presence of Jedi whose consciousness now spans both mortal and transcendent realms. The ancient seats remain, but they are no longer thrones of authority, but simple places where enhanced beings gather to consider how best to serve the infinite complexity of life that flourishes under their protection. Through the great windows, Coruscant spreads beneath the evening sky like a circuit board of living light, each point of illumination representing lives that continue their ordinary struggles and joys while being watched over by guardians whose love for them has been amplified beyond the boundaries of individual hearts to encompass the very fabric of existence itself. The stars emerge one by one in the darkening sky, each point of light now clearly visible as a node in the network of consciousness that connects every world where life has learned to dream of something greater than itself. In the gentle darkness, between the stars, you sense the presence of the eternal vigil, no longer alien manipulators but fellow gardeners in the cosmic greenhouse of consciousness, learning alongside the Jedi how to tend the infinite garden of possibility with hands that create rather than control. The galaxy sleeps peacefully under the watch of its eternal guardians, knowing that somewhere among the stars, love itself has learned to think and plan and protect with wisdom that spans the distance between heartbeats and the space between galaxies, ensuring that consciousness will continue to grow and flourish until the last star burns cold in the depths of space and beyond.